Hello, I'm Kevin Jeffrey. Welcome to the Palm Bay Report. I'm joined by former Deputy Chief of the Palm Bay Police Department, Lance Fisher. And Lance, welcome to the Palm Bay Report. And so a lot happening in Palm Bay. And so this week they did something that was shocking. Now we talked about the fact that there was a chance they would restore public comment, or broadcasting of public comment. But did you ever believe that they would make it 5-0? And that was a little shocking to me.
Yeah, no, I was, and I'm excited. I'm glad. It's okay. I've talked about, if we make mistakes in life, we make the wrong decision. It's okay sometimes to say we messed up. Let's fix it. So I'm hoping that's what this was about. I'm hoping it wasn't just well, I'm going to lose the battle anyway, so let me just change my vote. But I was happy to see that it was a 5-0. One thing that I had asked for when I spoke before the new business item hit is I was hoping that they would go back and give public comments back to consent agenda items. And I was also hoping that we could get the second speaking portions back, only because a lot of times staff is called to the podium to rebut what citizens say, and sometimes there's criticism or belittling against the citizen, and we don't have an opportunity to come back up and readdress the council. But I think this is a great start. Absolutely thank all of them, Deputy Mayor Jaffe, Mayor Medina, Councilman Johnson, because he seconded the vote, and he's one that voted against it initially. Mike Hammer's always been in favor of public comments, and again Chandler. I think just getting his vote as well. I think it showed the citizens for one of the first times that city council is probably listening to them.
Do you think that these citizens really had an impact on this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think a couple different things happened, right? I think the citizens had an impact because I told them on day one, you're making a catastrophic mistake. By silencing me, you're making two mistakes. One, people are going to be like, why don't they want Lance Fisher to speak, right? Because he's disgruntled, misinformation, which Jaffe, you heard him say that at council, that the citizens need not use disinformation. Everything I put up there, I put on the bulletin board. I put it right there at presentation. And everything I say, you can say it in black and white.
Misinformation has become a euphemism for what I don't want other people to hear.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so I think it was good that they moved forward. And I think the citizens had a huge role in this, but I also think so did social media. You guys broadcasting the comments, they were getting so many more views by the comments going on social media than were ever seen on the live.
It backfired spectacularly.
Absolutely, which I told them it would. I mean, I think you guys had that effect at Titusville when Titusville was trying to follow their sister city of Palm Bay, and they were like, "Oh, we'll do the same thing." And I think they figured it out right away that more people are going to see the comments through social media than will ever see it through the city of Palm Bay's website.
But the people won on that. I mean, and it shows
Absolutely.
that when the people chime in and they actually care, you can actually have an impact.
Absolutely.
I mean, even to the point of that being a 5-0 vote. I mean, there was some concern as to how this would look if you were on the other side of it.
Absolutely, because you got to remember, two people are up for re-election: Deputy Mayor Jaffe and Councilman
Kenny Johnson.
Thank you, sir. Are both up for re-election. So this was a big sticking point. And if you read any social media, it was all about you took away the voices of citizens. You didn't campaign on that. And, I think I even made a comment. I think Deputy Mayor Jaffe should walk up to the door when somebody answers, turn around and walk away and say, "That's my campaign speech. I don't want to hear from you," because he said it time and time again. I'm in the $250 million business. I don't need somebody to tell me how to budget. And so I think this was a step in the right direction, because I've been saying we've had some good council meetings since July 3rd. I think July 3rd was the bottom of the council meetings. Berating me for 12 minutes, violating Florida state statute, violating First Amendment rights. But I think the city council has done some good things since then. So I just hope it continues.
So before we let that go, you said consent agenda you think should be broadcast as well, and that's a huge thing, right? Because on consent agenda, what most people may not know is that they are they basically rubber stamp supposedly insignificant items. But what they're doing in many city councils is they're running a lot of big items through that consent agenda. The flock cameras were run through that, from what we can see, through consent agenda. And the public don't understand or know about these things. It's not even hard to trace some of those things, because under consent agenda, it is a little harder. You can do it. I'm not saying that you can't do it, and I know people are going to say, "Oh yeah, you can." You can do it, but it makes it harder. So you think that the broadcast of this argument under consent agenda should be made known?
Yeah, because before Deputy Mayor Jaffe brought the resolution back in January to not allow public, because the citizens used to be able to pull a consent item. So they could walk up, pull the item, and then it would not be under consent. So then they would have to discuss it and vote on it. And so, but that was the first thing. And I think that's important because Mr. Bill Batten, who is at every council meeting, he reads everything. And he's talked about how millions of dollars go through consent. There's more money that'll go through consent. They get voted on at the dais. And yeah, I think it's a bad look. I still think that the public should have an opportunity if they don't see something in the consent that they don't like. I think there should be some discussion.
Okay, so that brings us to Officer Rollins, and you've had a interesting week. So we've been talking about, and we've broadcast here on Brevard News, video of the arrest of Tamara Hatcher. Again, the issue is the activities of the police involved in that, and so there's been a lot of information that has come out from those videos that show that they may not have acted in the proper manner, from the busting in of her door to the arrest and so forth, the arrest of her son. Of course, the charges were dropped with him by the district attorney, right, the state's attorney's office. So let's just start with the video. After we posted the video, you get a appearance from the officer in front of your home.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was just coming by to say hi.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm still trying to pull the public records. It may have been that he was on a call for service in the area, but he definitely took the time from the corner of my street. I live half a block down. He took the time as the call was over to stop at his car, give me this sarcastic look and a huge wave, and just uncalled for. But if you look at his actions that day with Miss Hatcher and the juvenile, he claps in her face. He says, you know, good for you. You just made this to felony, and puts a thumbs up in her face. And even later on, which we haven't shown, they're talking about the son being arrested. And one of them says, well, how old is he? And they're like 17. And Rollins like, good for him. Good for him, right? You just leg swept and driven a kid that was completely upset. If you look at the actions of that child, he was not harassing the police. He was not interfering or impeding, which Chief Agello was accused of by Melbourne Police Department. He was sitting there in distress over his pregnant mother, and that's when he's screaming, she's pregnant, she's pregnant. And, you know, it's just it's disturbing at the comments. And that's when I talk about a think tank mentality, when I talk about a culture that's created when your chief and deputy chief send out text messages about popping children with pellet rifles. This is the culture that's created, and that's the issue I have. And so he did. He was on, let's just say he was on a legitimate call for service, but why take the extra steps to stop, not get in your car, peer at me, stand there, wave, and smile all sarcastically.
Now, you've been tracking a lot of these because since you've been talking out and making known some of the things going on in the Palm Bay Police Department, you've been tracking some of the retaliation against you. Mm-hmm. And so this being one of them, it appears that he's doing this, but there's other things that have happened that you're going to present to show the retaliation that they've done. And so this is done for a reason, right? And it is to keep other officers from taking the track that you take, right?
Absolutely. I mean, look at Officer Feld, right? He had several opportunities, and, you know, an officer called me up, hey, stop beating on Officer Feld. He's a good guy, and I know he's a good guy. I have nothing against Officer Feld, and other than Rollins' actions, but personally, I've worked with these guys. But, you know, you have an obligation to step in. And that's just a simple fact. As far as retaliation, absolutely. I've talked about Chief Agello retaliating on me. I mean, I sat down with the state attorney's office. I think it was, and you have to forgive me, it was either August 15th or August 17th of 2024. 3 days later, this chief signed my denial letter and basically said, you're no longer going to be a police officer. 3 days after I filed a complaint. I first spoke out at City Council on September the 5th. Just as I was at the podium, Shane Mertens sent me, at the time was a sergeant, Shane Mertens, sends me a text message, F you, right to my phone. The next day is on social media, not berating my wife, but giving her a hard time, harassing her on social media. I file a complaint against him. Months later, he gets promoted to lieutenant after the July 3rd incident. And remember, I've already said that 3 different times the chief has filled the City Hall chambers with SWAT and officers, costing the city taxpayers $3,000 to $6,000 at a time. A public records request on the July 3rd one says there was 5 officers there, yet I have video that you guys put out there, probably 30 to 40 officers. So they retaliated in that way. I haven't mentioned it yet, but on August the 11th, the first day of school, James Madison Audits, which appeared on your show, he posted the text message between the deputy chief and the chief about shooting children. which was ironic because we saw the chief holding signs at the first day of school welcoming children to school. Yet on the other side, he's threatening to shoot those very children, which baffles me. That night, and I haven't put this out there, an FBI task force agent is on my doorsteps at 10:30 at night knocking on my door. 12 hours after that post goes out, Rebecca Spears, who was a police officer, who's now an FBI agent, ironically, Kevin, I can't make this up, Chief Spears' wife, this was her task force zone partner in the FBI. This was her partner. And now this guy is standing on my doorsteps 11 hours after it's leaked that Chief Spears and Chief Agello have text message about shooting children with pellet rifles.
So this happens, and then under the auspices that they said that there were some questions about your daughter or whatever.
No.
So then they come back later and say, "Oh, we had it wrong."
They said the Boston FBI office messed up.
So
it wasn't her profile.
So you're going to talk about this, and you're going to show that and they make the culture such that no one, if they attack anyone that goes against it, no one would ever do that, right?
Oh, I have text messages from officers that say, the reason I can't speak out is because of what happened to you. Absolutely. Chief Agello knew what he was doing. The mayor knew what they were doing. The city attorney knew what they were doing. Human resources knew what they were doing. When they retaliated against me and they shut me down, they shut me out of the building. They shut off my computer. They shut off my phones. They absolutely knew that they were saying, you better not be a whistleblower. You better just sit there and be quiet, enjoy your job, enjoy your paycheck, because if you don't, you're not going to have one. You're going to sell your house just like I did.
And so you've had other issues that are going on, and you're going to make that known coming up.
Yeah.
And so probably that needs to be done. If you, just before we leave this subject, if you were as deputy chief and you saw what an officer did in this Tamara Hatcher situation and how that whole thing went down, you had the video, what would be your view on the other side of it?
As a police officer?
Yes.
On this one, and I've done this before, so people are always like, well, why didn't you say anything when you're the deputy chief? I did. That's why I'm not a deputy chief anymore.
Okay.
But I did, and I would do the same thing. We would sit around the table just like this, and our command staff would just justify every little thing that Rollins did. Just like we did in the Derek Mitchell case when he tased Esteban Morris off the motorcycle. And I said, Chief, we need to terminate this officer. He said, and the officer said, I did nothing wrong. I didn't violate policy. And I said, Chief, this is going to come back and bite us. It did. In June, he tased Mr. Thomas Farley off a fence, paralyzed him, and now he's ultimately dead. I mean, he died just 1 year short of the 1 year anniversary of the tasing. And so I would do the same thing. Again, I don't get the final say. All I do, even as a deputy chief, I make recommendations to the chief.
Would you recommend that this guy not be with the Palm Bay Police Department now?
I would recommend, just like I did in the Derek Mitchell case, that this be referred to the state attorney's office because I believe this is criminal. I believe he should be terminated.
So why is he not?
Well, the problem is the chief has written, in my opinion, he falsified a document that he sent to Suzanne Sherman when this officer left our agency, didn't fulfill his contract, got a $10,000 sign-on bonus, and then when he leaves, the chief wants to waive his $5,000 of the $10,000 he still owed us. And he said because he was an exceptional employee, and that's not true. But I think what happens is once again, I say this, chiefs protect their agency, and they believe that by protecting their agency, they have to protect their officers. Instead of looking for the truth, they believe they have to protect their officers at all costs. And that's not what police chiefs are supposed to do. They're supposed to protect the citizens. Show the truth, protect your citizens. But we don't do that. We just can't do that. Our egos are too big.
We don't even protect the officers. As we move to the Frank Tobar situation, there's a training facility that is going to be named for him. But one small thing, they didn't let his wife know about it.
No, they didn't.
And does that surprise you?
Does it surprise me? I was absolutely surprised because, one, I think it's great. Sergeant Frank Tobar touched so many people. I mean, he single-handedly kept the Explorers program together for 12 to 15 years. I don't remember exactly. He was a part of the PAL program. He was a part of so many things. He was a use of force instructor. So I think it's phenomenal they want to name this training facility. Name the entire city after him. He was a great guy, man. He touched so many people, right? You know, and I've talked about the mayor. Phenomenal job, did Sacrifice Park. It took 4 years to put Sergeant Frank Tobar out there. And here was the issue that I had. My thoughts were the city attorney's office, Patricia Smith, fought Frank's family tooth and nail to deny him workman's comp benefits because he died in the line of duty. So they did everything they could to say that this was not an in line of duty death. I know because they depoted me to try to speak on behalf of the city. And I'm like, I went to the depot and I told him, no, he was on duty, and this was an in line of duty thing. But that's what the city attorney does. So I didn't have a problem with them honoring him. I think it's a great idea. But I called the family that day and I said, hey, are you coming to council? Are you speaking on this? Because I don't like to speak on things out of respect for Frank unless the family's aware of it. Because I don't speak on their behalf. I don't do it. When I speak, this is Lance Fisher speaking. So when I called to say, hey, are you coming tonight? And she was like, what are you talking about? And
So she had no idea.
She had no idea.
The spouse of the deceased had no idea that this was going to happen.
No.
And the question was asked of Deputy Chief Spears about why. It was his responsibility to make this happen, and he said,
well, yeah, so the mayor looked shocked. He was like, because again, I don't think they believe what I say. Even though everything I say I can prove. I said the family wasn't even aware. And the purpose of that was I was asking the council members, please speak to the family. Because Chief Agello and Chief Spears have continually come to that podium and only given parts of information that they want council to hear, but they leave out so much. So I was asking them, please reach out to the family, see what they have to say. I think she will be honored to have Frank's name out there, but understand the perils that she went through, because she was using her money to fight the city. And so the mayor, he looked embarrassed, Kevin. And so he calls the Chief Spears appointee up there, and he says, was the family not notified? And Jeff was like, no, I didn't know this was going to be public tonight. In my mind, I'm saying, this was at the last council meeting. This was talked about at the last council meeting. It's already been public. It's in the agenda that comes out the Fridays before. And I think this for the first time showed his incompetence. It showed his lack of experience, because remember, he's still on probation for another week. He hasn't even been a deputy chief for a year, but yet he was already appointed as the next chief, 2 months ago?
so you think this is a train wreck coming?
This is absolutely a train wreck. And because as a sergeant and a lieutenant, these guys know that council meetings are public. So for him to think that this wasn't going to be public, he was so caught off guard. That's what the first thing he said. Now the mayor tried to bail him out. Oh, you don't want the family to be disappointed if it didn't pass, right? That doesn't make sense, because Councilman Hammer had already said that before he was even elected, he was talking to the chief and deputy chief about naming this facility after Frank Tobar. So then that tells me this has been in the works since before November of 2024. And you're telling me now, 8-10 months later, you haven't one time said to the family, hey, a councilman brought this to us. You had all the time in the world to talk to her at the ceremony at Sacrifice Park just weeks before. You've had all these things. But I'll tell you what it was, Kevin. They wanted to put a name on a project that was going to get state monies for, and they want to use Frank's name to get $1.5 million. And I'm okay with that. But you know what?
But just be honest about it.
But give his family the $130,000 they deserve, plus whatever she lost fighting the battle. Because she told me it was never about the money. She just wanted, out of respect for Frank, that it was called in line of duty. And so it was embarrassing. 3 times that night, his incompetence showed. He got up there, and one citizen talked about public records request for a bomb threat, and Jeff got up there, and you could tell he had no idea. Oh, it's an extensive request. The request was made in July. This is September. How extensive can it possibly be?
Still not too late to get a search for a police chief.
You have to do it. Kevin, 9 months. Look what can happen in 9 months. Tamara Hatchers, look at the video, and I've asked you, what am I missing? Because everybody at the police department I talked to says that the city staff, some of the city council, and the PD executives, the command staff, are all justifying it. I don't know how. But absolutely a train wreck coming. You have to do an outside chief. I've talked about the culture. I've shown you proof about the culture.
What can the citizens do to make this happen?
They got to be vocal. Again, if you're a citizen, look at Kissimmee Police Department. The exact same things happened to them. They had an excessive use of force case that was covered up. I even showed a headline, Kissimmee Police Department indicted for a cone of silence or something of silence. And I said, this is going to be Palm Bay. This is going to be a Palm Bay headline. The citizens have got to just look at the Kissimmee, look what they did. I think they indicted officers. They went to the state attorney's office over there, and I think it's Osceola County. They got to be vocal. You got to demand it. The citizens have a right to have a voice in who's going to be their police chief. That's a very important. I mean, that changes that changes cultures, that changes citizens. Citizens should have a right on who's your fire chief and your police chief. Just like your city manager, they should have a right to have a voice in those kind of decisions.
And as it is now, they have no voice. On to the next thing that we wanted to cover was the budget hearing that's coming up, and it's on September the 8th. And so there's some question about that, and Ruth is not with us today, but they're going to have that meeting. And so do you think that they want to remove the cap to spending in Palm Bay in order that they might be able to cover some of the problems that they have in Palm Bay?
It'll be interesting because Councilman Johnson, again, from a very limited knowledge, has been very against it. It doesn't sound like he's gonna help out with that supermajority.
And you need four people.
Councilman Hammer, as it sounds like he's been kind of on the fence because he's keeps mentioning public safety, and that's what they always use, the public safety portions on this.
Public safety is used for everything. It was used to get the flock cameras in, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yep, absolutely. And so yes, I think they absolutely are. They want to do the supermajority vote to break the cap, right, for this one. The interesting part is I've mentioned how they can easily save $177,000. I've told the public the biggest kept secret in the Palm Bay Police Department command staff was the fact that we get to use our vehicles for personal use. I can drive all the way to Flagler County, I can drive all the way to St. Lucie County, and I can drive all the way to Lake County.
Just like your own personal vehicle.
Yeah, to family and everything. And interesting, when I went on medical leave, the city attorney said, yeah, well, why do you think you should be able to use your vehicle for personal use? And I said, because that's the policy. Everybody else gets to do it, and I'm just going on a medical leave, so I should still have the same rights as everybody else. And she's like, and the fact that we allow family, you want your family member to be in there, the risk, there's just too much liability. Okay, then let's start saving our money there. Let's stop filling up our city council. Let's stop filling up our city council seats with police officers that are working, and stop wasting that money. We're going to send an entire SWAT team over to pretty much play in a war game. Come over in November. They do it every year. One year we paid them. We were under an emergency declaration, and they're over there making emergency pay and holiday pay. So they're getting all kinds of money, another $20,000. You know, and I've talked about there's so many small things that we can do to save money. I did see today in some social media stuff as I was sitting out there that Councilman Langevin is talking that Doge will kick in October 1st. And so that'll be interesting because I'll get a lot of emails from and a lot of comments from police officers. Immediately I get this thing that the city manager sent out about a letter, how they're going to do hiring freezes for everybody except police and fire. Again, public safety, right? So it sounds like that the city manager recognizes that Doge may be coming in, and so he's trying to prepare for that, which is good.
Right.
I do think that there's a lot of surplus spending out there. I was a part of that. I know at this time of the year, right now, every year we would all of a sudden start slamming all kinds of requests, training requests, all kinds of.
You got to keep that money coming in.
Frivolous requests, because if we don't spend it, Kevin, it goes back to the general fund.
And you may never get it again, right?
And this is where we would move money all over the place. We had a huge DNA allotment every year, but we wouldn't decrease it because it was a huge. But every year we'd go in there and we'd take chunks of it and go spend it on other stuff. Because as long as it was in our budget, all we had to do was an budget amendment, right? And that's what we were doing. And so I think it's good. And Councilman Langevin has been about fiscal accountability, and Mayor Medina have been about fiscal accountability. So it'll be interesting. But I just happened to literally see it as I was coming here today, and so I am excited about that because I think we have waste in our government, and we'll see.
So the last thing is, and here's somebody might say that this is waste. It's very honorable to want to put a statue up of George Washington, but they're spending how much money to do this?
$168,000. Now, in fairness, it sounds like they're going to use the Palm Bay Municipal Foundation, which is the same one that the mayor uses every year when he does his mayor balls. He uses that, and it usually goes to a good charity. That's how he did Sacrifice Park, and it's donations. But it is interesting. It got voted in 3-2. Deputy Mayor Jaffe and Councilman Johnson were against it. Deputy Mayor Jaffe just made a good statement. I don't agree with a lot what he says, but he was like, "You're going to open the door up. Who knows what the political climate's going to be in 4 or 8 years?"
That's true.
And now, what kind of statues are going to be put out there, right?
Who knows? But somebody kind of thinking that is out there today. I mean,
yeah. So
who knows where that will go?
So we'll see how that goes. You know, I think again, it was brought forth by Councilman Langevin, who's always said, "I'm a Constitution guy unless it comes to the rights of the people's speech."
Right.
So
well, but he did vote 5-0 to restore the
appreciate
state.
that. I appreciate that.
All right, so that's it for the Palm Bay Report. Thank you, Lance Fisher, former Deputy Chief of the Palm Bay Police Department. And my name is Kevin Jeffrey, your moderator. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week on the Palm Bay Report.